Screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's start. Good evening, everyone. I am Khushbu, your PMRF TA for the course Introductory Organic Chemistry 2. So, the course instructor for this course are Professor Nirja Dashaputri and Professor Harinath Chakrapani from ISER Pune. So, today we will discuss about rearrangements and some name reactions.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah,
Ma'am, when the recording we are able to see, so when we are seeing that recording, the screen appears so small. So, if ma'am, can you just enlarge the screen of the this Google Meet?
okay, I will try.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now is it visible?
No, ma'am. The normal screen where you are teaching that appears correct, but from your side, when the screen recording is taking place from your device, from ma'am that there is an arrow showing in the Google Meet. So, ma'am, when that arrow where every participant is visible on the screen, if you press that arrow, so the screen will appear big. Yes, ma'am. There is an arrow. Yes, ma'am.
Now it is fine.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So let's start. Firstly, we will discuss about neighboring group participation. So when we will discuss about SN1 or SN2 type of reactions, those reactions rate will be varied if some groups will be present in its neighbor that can assist that reaction, that substitution reaction. For example, if we have this alkyl chloride or this tosylate, then the rate of substitution in these cases is less than the cases where your some neighboring groups was present. So what these groups are doing, these are increasing the rate of reaction by participating in the mechanism. So how they will participate, that we will see further. Now for the first, this thiophenyl group, it is increasing the rate of reaction by 600 times, and this phenyl is participating and it is increasing the reaction 3000 times faster. Again, this alkene also can participate in neighboring group as or participate as neighboring group, and it is increasing the rate of reaction by 10 raised to power 11 times. Again, we have this acetate that is increasing by 670 times. So what effect these groups were imposing on the substitution, that we have to discuss. We already know that carbocation is the intermediate in the SN1 reactions, right? So in SN1 reactions, whenever you are generating a carbocation, and we know by the stability of the carbocation, if any electron donating group is present near to that carbocation, that will increase the stability of the carbocation. So if we have this compound where oxygen is present at adjacent position where your carbocation will generate. So this will assist the formation of the carbocation. Similarly, if you have phenyl group at the alpha position, that carbocation that will generate is stabilized by the resonance forms of the phenyl ring, or it will distribute its charge on the phenyl ring. So this will increase the rate of reaction in the substitution. So this reaction is undergoing in such a way that oxygen will use its lone pair to kick out this chlorine, and this cationic intermediate will form first. Then your nucleophile will attack the electrophilic carbon and then neutralize the positive charge on oxygen. So you will get this product. Similarly, if you have sulfur, so sulfur can attack the carbon, or in this case, it is attached to the this. This is, if we are considering is alpha, then it is beta. So three-membered ring will form, and then your nucleophile will open this three-membered ring, because three-membered ring are strained ring, and it will neutralize the positive charge on sulfur. So you will get this product. So, whenever you have some groups that can stabilize the carbocationic intermediate through a um, through the formation of a three-membered ring or a four-membered ring, or through the formation of the pi bond, then these groups we will call as neighboring groups, and this mechanism by which they are speed up the reaction rate, we will call it as neighboring group participation. Now, when this neighboring group participation was observed, in that case rearrangement is also possible. So rearrangement occurs when a participating groups end up to bonded to a different atom. Let us consider one example. We have this tosylate, and this pi bond of this phenyl ring can participate in removal of this tosylate, so it will form this phenonium ion that is symmetrical. Once this carbocation will generate, then we have two positions where attack can take place. One, this is the green carbon, and other one is the orange carbon. They take this green carbon as isotopic, they did isotopic labeling. They convert C12 to C40. So now, if we are if both are C12, then it is not a problem, we will get only one product. But because they are using a labeled product or labeled starting material, then whatever the product we will get, that will this labeling will be shown in the product also. So from the product we are getting 50-50% of both the products, where your acid, or we can say acetate ion, is attacking at green carbon, and it has equal chances to attack the orange carbon. So for like equal probability is there to attack at both the position, and corresponding to both, we are getting unrearranged product and rearranged product in 50 is to 50 ratio. So whenever you have some groups that are participating in neighboring group, or increasing the rate of reaction of substitution, then in those cases you should remember, if some labeling was there, then you will get both kind of products, rearranged product as well as unrearranged product. Now, in neighboring group participation, whenever we are considering, some stereochemical consequences will also be faced. For example, if we have these two enantiomers, and we know that this phenyl ring will participate in neighboring group like will kick out, help in removal of this tosylate group, and this phenonium ion will form. When your acetate will attack, or it can attack at both position, like here also and here also, so you will get products that are also enantiomers. So when we are starting with enantiomer of tosylates, then in the product also we are getting enantiomers, because both side attack is possible. Now, if we are considering, we are taking one of the enantiomers, like these two products are the astereomers of each other, and we are taking from one of the enantiomers we are doing this reaction. So the this phenonium ion that is generated is this, where both the methyl groups are above the plane, or we can say it is beta, and both the methyl groups are below the plane, that is alpha. So here both methyls are alpha, and here both methyls are beta. Now, there are 50% chances that the nucleophile acetate will attack at carbon A, and 50% chances are there that it will attack at carbon B. So when your acetate group will attack at A carbon, then this bond will shift here and it will neutralize the positive charge, or through extended conjugation also this is possible. So when your acetate is attacking at this carbon and this will open up, so methyl, when we will shift the bond, like we will write it in this manner, then this below methyl will go up, and this methyl also, this bond we have to shift again, so this methyl will also go up. Okay. Like this we will get, and when we will rearrange it or rewrite it in this form, then your the stereochemistry of both the methyls will invert. Similarly, if your acetate is attacking at carbon B, in that case also you will get both above in this form, and then when we will rewrite it, then both the methyls will come alpha to each other. So whenever you have neighboring group adjacent to the leaving group, then stereochemical aspects also you have to check, and the like ratio you have to keep in mind. Then
Ma'am,
yeah,
ma'am, in the previous slide, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, in the previous slide, when we are doing writing unrearranged and rearranged, on what basis we are naming them that it is unrearranged or rearranged?
okay. See, in the starting material, your phenyl ring is attached to the labeled carbon, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And here acetate is attacking at the position where your tosylate was originally there, that is the it is attached with the orange carbon. In this unrearranged product, it is attached with the orange carbon. So this is unrearranged
Okay.
because position of the substituents is not changed. Your phenyl is attached to the labeled carbon. But in the second case, this rearranged product, now your phenyl ring is attached with the orange carbon, so this got rearranged.
Yes, ma'am.
Clear?
Clear, ma'am.
Okay. So now we know about carbocations, and we so that in carbocations rearrangement is possible. Rearrangement of alkyl groups is possible. One such reaction we will discuss, where we have this iodide, primary iodide, and we are treating it with silver nitrate in the presence of water. We want this alcohol, but this reaction does not happen by the prime SN1 mechanism or by SN2 mechanism, because in SN, if this reaction will undergo SN1 mechanism, then in that case this primary carbocation will generate, and we know for SN1 reaction the rate of reaction is maximum for the formation of tertiary carbocation, then for secondary, and then for primary. So primary carbocations generally do not prefer to undergo a substitution via SN1 mechanism. And because of the presence of bulky methyl groups, this substituent or this substrate does not undergo substitution through a SN2 mechanism also, because of the steric hindrance faced by the nucleophile when it will come from the backside attack or when it will undergo backside attack. So SN2 attack is also not possible and SN1 reaction is also not possible. So how this reaction will happen? This silver Ag positive will help in the removal of this iodide. This iodine will coordinate with this silver and you will get a rearranged product. Now, how this rearranged product is forming? Iodide will coordinate with silver and the leaving group tendency of that iodine will increase by getting the positive charge on that. So then the methyl group will migrate. Now, this kind of arrow we will use for the migration of any group with its electrons. So this methyl is taking its electron and shifting to the position where your iodide was attached and leaving group is leaving. So you will get this in this cyclic transition state where positive this methyl is attached to the carbon 1 as well as attached to the carbon 2 partially. Now, after the migration to the carbon 1, your tertiary carbocation is forming. And we know tertiary carbocations are stable. So, after the formation of this tertiary carbocation, water or nucleophile will attack at this tertiary carbocation to neutralize the positive charge, and you will get this rearranged product. So, in carbocation intermediates, this kind of rearrangement is possible when your carbocation is not stable, and by the migration of one group it is stable, then that migration is always possible. Similarly, carbocations, we have this secondary alkyl chloride, and we are treating it with SbF5 in the presence of this known nucleophilic solvent. This is a known nucleophilic solvent. That means your solvent will not act as the nucleophile. And this SbF5 is a Lewis acid. So what it will do? It will increase the leaving group tendency of this chlorine. So this will coordinate with your Lewis acid, and positive charge will generate here, and this chlorine will remove. So you will get this secondary carbocation. And if we will warm it to 20 degrees Celsius, then this secondary carbocation will rearrange to give this tertiary carbocation. Now, how this transformation is happening? So, now let us number the carbons. So, we have at second carbon, hydrogen is attached and positive charge was there. At third carbon, we have a methyl group. When your methyl will shift to the second carbon, then positive charge will come at the third carbon. And then hydrogen will migrate to the third carbon and positive charge will come at the second carbon. This is how you will get this product. So let me write it step by step. So in the first step, now we know this this is the secondary carbocation. Now after the migration of methyl, you will get here H, this is methyl, and here positive charge. This is the primary carbocation, but this rearrangement or this migration will not stop here. Then this hydrogen will migrate to this position, and you will get this tertiary carbocation. So first methyl will migrate and then hydrogen will migrate. So in carbocations case, if more than one this migration will lead to the formation of a stable carbocation, that is also possible. And if you are getting any confusion like which group is migrating to which carbon, then better to number the carbon atoms and then do the migration, and then you will find out like at final stage your which carbon is attached to the which group. Okay, this is clear how this tertiary carbocation is forming.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let us discuss about the orbital picture, how this migration is happening. So in the first case, your carbocation, we know that empty p orbital was there. So your LUMO is empty p orbital of the carbocationic carbon. And your HOMO is this filled CC bond, CH3 bond. This filled CC bond is acting as the HOMO. So firstly, from this sigma bond, electrons are migrated to empty p orbital of the carbocationic carbon. So first, after first migration, this will come. Then in the second case, your CH sigma bond is acting as HOMO, and your again another carbocation is generating. So that empty p orbital is acting as LUMO. So after second migration, you will get this product. Now let us discuss about rearrangements. So first rearrangement that we have to discuss is Wagner-Merwin rearrangement. So this is the migration of alkyl groups to a cationic center. Whenever you have a cation and some migration is taking place on that cationic intermediate, that we will call it as Wagner-Merwin rearrangement or Wagner-Merwin shift. Let us take the example of this camphinylol, and it is converted into this xanthine. Now, how this transformation is happening, that we have to see. Now, we have this alcohol in the presence of acid. This will get protonated. So once this will get protonated, you will get a carbocation. Now there are two chances. One, proton can migrate and you will get the carbocation at the bridgehead position. But whatever alkene you will get after, or sorry, after the loss of the proton, you will get this bridgehead alkene. And according to Brett's rule, bridgehead alkene is not stable. So this will not form. Then what is the other possibility? Methyl migration can take place because adjacent to the carbocation you have a this quaternary carbon. So when this methyl will migrate to this carbocationic carbon, then a new carbocation will generate, that is tertiary in nature. And we know tertiary carbocations are more stable than secondary carbocations. That is the fate of this migration. After the loss of proton or elimination, you will get this alkene, more substituted alkene. So this is the Mirvin Wegener Mirvin rearrangement. Let us consider one more example. Now we have isoborinol and we are treating it with acid, then it leads to the formation of this camphene. Now in this case, firstly protonation will take place, carbocation will generate. After the formation of the carbocation, now this C4C5 bond will migrate to the carbocation and your tertiary carbocation will form, and this tertiary carbocation is stable. So then after the loss of proton you will get this alkene, exocyclic alkene. So alkene or alkyl migration occurs to make the carbocation more stable. Only if the carbocation that is generated after migration is stable, then only that migration is possible. If you will get an unstable carbocation, then that migration will not take place. Is this clear?
Ma'am, this last reaction is not clear. C4 from C5 to C6 one.
Okay. So here this carbocation is generating and its MTP orbital is this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is, sorry. Here is the MTP orbital and here is the sigma orbital. So these are anti-periplanar to each other and this shift is possible. Whenever electron or this bond will shift, it will, those orbitals should be anti-periplanar to each other. Then the migration is possible. If it is
Ma'am,
yeah,
like in previous reactions, methyl group was shifting
okay.
or the hydrogen was shifting. So why not here? Because it has chances to take. Ma'am, in here in this carbocation.
Then at bridgehead carbocation will generate na. According to Brett's rule, that is not possible. That is not stable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Then the second rearrangement is Demensov rearrangement. This is kind of semi-pinnacle rearrangement of disonium salts. So we are converting disonium salts that we are deriving from two amino alcohols into lactams, or we will use those kind of reactions. So we have this two amino alcohol. First, let's just see how disonium salts will form. So we have arylamines or alkylamines, and we are treating it with NaNO2 and HCl. So your disonium salt will form. Now nitrogen is a very good leaving group. So after the leaving group will leave, you will get a carbocation intermediate that will do further reactions. So let us consider this example where we have this 2 amino alcohol. So if we are considering it 1, this is 2. So this is 2 amino alcohol. We are treating it with NaNO2 HCl. So firstly, disonium salt will form. Now Oxygen will push the electron density, and your CC bond will break, and it will migrate to the carbon where your nitrogen is attached. Or we can say this carbocation will form after the removal of this nitrogen, and then expansion, ring expansion will take place. And after the loss of proton from this carbonyl or this oxygen, you will get this ketone. Similar kind of reaction can happen when your ketone will react with diazomethane. And we know diazomethanes are nucleophilic at the carbon. So your CH2 negative will attack the carbonyl carbon, and then this alkoxide will form. When this this oxygen will push the electron density, then ring expansion will take place by the loss of nitrogen, that is a gas, and your lactam will generate. So from this rearrangement of this disonium salt, we will call it as Demonsov rearrangement. Then the next rearrangement is Pinacol rearrangement. Pinacol is 1,2-diol, and we are treating it with acid. So we know one of the hydroxyl group will take the proton, and it will get water will generate. Then after the loss of water, you will get a carbocation. Now this carbocation is already tertiary carbocation. So why it is undergoing further rearrangement or further migration of the group to form another tertiary carbocation? Now, if you have a tertiary carbocation where all the three groups are carbon, and you have a other tertiary carbocation where one of the group is any heteroatom that can provide electron density to this carbocation. So we know this carbocation is more stable. So, although this is the tertiary carbocation, but the carbocation that is generating after the methyl migration to this position is more stable because of the presence of adjacent hydroxyl group at that carbon. So, this methyl will migrate to the carbon number 3, and then you will get this more stable carbocation. So, after the loss of proton, your carbonyl compound will form. So from diol, you are converting the diol to a migrated ketone. This is the Pinacol rearrangement. Similar is the this example. So in this case also, this is symmetrical. So one of the alcohol will take the proton, and after protonation, carbocation will generate. Then oxygen will push the electron density to form the carbonyl or ketone, and then this bond will break, and it will do ring expansion, and you will get this ketone. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then let us discuss about the stereochemical aspects of rearrangements. Now we have this four kind of amino alcohols, and we are treating it with sodium and this NaNO2 HCl to form the disonium salts. Now in every case disonium salt is formed, that is clear, right? So let us discuss one by one, like how these different outcomes we are getting from this. So in the first case, where your N2 positive or this disonium salt will form, and oxygen will push the electron density. Now your C, this leaving group, and this bond is anti-periplanar to each other. So when oxygen will push the electron density, then this anti-periplanar bond will migrate to the carbon that is attached to nitrogen, and your leaving group will leave. So you will get this aldehyde. Similarly, if you have a perpendicular OH, then also this bond is anti-periplanar to leaving group. So this bond only shift to the carbon where your leaving group was present. So you will get this aldehyde in both the cases. And in the third case, where your N2 positive is axial and your alcohol is equatorial, then again oxygen will push the electron density. Now your hydrogen is anti-periplanar to the leaving group. So hydrogen will migrate and you will get this ketone and not aldehyde. And in the last case, this one, where your N2 positive as well as hydroxyl group both are axial. So this only hydroxyl is anti-periplanar to the leaving group. So oxygen will directly attack at the carbon and the nitrogen will leave. So you will get this epoxide. So for elimination to take place, anti-periplanar arrangement is needed, and that will decide whether we will get a ketone or an aldehyde or epoxide. Then the next rearrangement that we have to discuss is Baeyer vinegar rearrangement. Now, in Baeyer vinegar rearrangement, you have ketones that can be cyclic or acyclic, and you are treating it with some peracid. So when your ketone is treated with peracid, then you will get this lactone or esters. Cyclic esters we will call as lactone. Similarly, if instead of peracids, if you are using diazomethane, then you will get CH2 at that position. So ring expansion will take place and CH2 will come. Now, whether we are using a diazomethane or we are using a peracid, in both the cases, we have a nucleophilic group and a leaving group attached to that nucleophilic group. So these kind of peracid and diazomethane will participate in the reaction. Now let us see how this reaction is taking place. So firstly, your peracid will attack the electrophilic carbonyl carbon and this intermediate will form. This is a similar intermediate that we see in the pinnacle rearrangement or kind of that. So now, after that, your oxygen will push the electron density towards to form the carbon oxygen double bond, and then migration will take place, and this carboxylate ion will remove. So carboxylate will leave, lone pair will stabilize the carbocation that is formed by the alkyl migration. So you will get this, and after the loss of this proton, you will get this lactone. Now, which group will migrate? So if we will see that we have alkyl group that can be methyl, ethyl, isopropyl or tertbutyl, that is primary, secondary and tertiary, or it can be a phenyl ring or aryl group we can say. So we know that the intermediate that is formed first is this, your peracid will attack the carbonyl carbon and you will get this intermediate first. Then phenyl group can migrate and alkyl group can migrate. So if phenyl group will migrate, then you will see in the case of tert-butyl, you are getting 2% of the phenyl substituted, phenyl migrated product, and 77% of alkyl migrated product. When you have isopropyl, then in that case, this ratio is like, in this case also, percentage of R group migration is more than the phenyl group migration. But when it is ethyl or methyl, in that case, your phenyl group migration is more. So on the basis of this table, we can say that the migration of tert-butyl group is more than, we can say, phenyl, and then isopropyl, then ethyl, and then methyl. So this can be the order, or this is the order. Now let us discuss about why this is the order. So this we will discuss. So before that, if we have this ketone and we are treating it with MCPBA, then your oxygen will come to the carbon that has a better migratory aptitude. So among methyl and a secondary carbocation or secondary group, secondary carbon, we know that the secondary has higher rate than primary. So oxygen will insert at this, between the this carbon and this carbon. And in this case also, when migration will take place, HOMO is the filled sigma orbital and LUMO is the empty sigma star orbital of that oxygen oxygen bond. And oxygen oxygen bond is weak, that is lead to the breaking of that bond. Now let us think about the reasons why that particular order was there for the migration. Now, when your per acid is attacking the carbonyl carbon and you will get this intermediate, then this intermediate is or the transition state of the migration is positively charged, or we can say that is that has carbocationic nature. So this position is carbocationic and oxygen is also having a positive charge. Now, whenever whatever the group that is migrating, that will help in stabilizing this positive charge. So if you have a tert butyl group and if you have a isopropyl group, so we know that tert butyl group will stabilize the carbocation more than the isopropyl group, and this isopropyl group can stabilize the carbocation better than this is H, better than the ethyl, and ethyl can stabilize better than methyl. So because of this carbocationic intermediate that is formed during the reaction, your bulky, or we can say tertiary carbon will stabilize that carbocation more than phenyl, then secondary, then primary, and among primary, ethyl will stabilize more because of the three hyperconjugating structures, and methyl will stabilize the least. So that is why that order. So, in case of phenyl, this kind of this transition state will form where your positive charge is distributed at all the five carbons. Is this clear? So, in bare vinegar oxidation from ketones, you will get ester, and migratory aptitude will depend on the stability of the carbocation intermediate transition state that is formed during the reaction. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am. It is clear, but there is a in previous slide, ma'am. One more previous. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, here what we were discussing, like,
See, this is the table that is given to you. From this table we can, like, this is the fact, this experiments was done, and from the experiment this result was obtained, and this result, whether our reason that we are giving will match that we are discussing.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, ma'am.
The next rearrangement is dienone phenol rearrangement. So you have this diene and on, so ketone, and you are treating it with acid, so phenol will generate. Now in this case, firstly your this oxygen will take the proton, and then this bond will migrate and a carbocation will generate at this position. Now once the carbocation will form, and adjacent to this you have two groups that can migrate. Now if phenyl group will migrate at that position, then next carbocation will generate at this, that carbon attached to the COET group. And we know COET is an electron withdrawing group that will destabilize the carbocation. So COET will not migrate, sorry, phenyl will not migrate, COET will migrate. So in dienone phenol rearrangement, that group will migrate, that or we can say electron withdrawing group will migrate, and the remaining group will stabilize the positive charge. And then after the loss of proton, you will get this compound or phenol. So here also, after the migration of phenyl, a less stable carbocation is generating. So this will not lead to the product formation. And after the migration of COET, your carbocation that is generating is stabilized by resonance um, with this phenyl ring. And then after the loss of proton, you will get the phenol. That is the stable. Then next is Bachmann rearrangement. So this is the rearrangement of oxime to a lactam. So oxime, when we are treating it with acid, so it leads to the formation of this caprolactam. And this caprolactam is used in the formation of nylon by treating it with base. So what is the mechanism for this Bachmann rearrangement? You have oxime and you are treating it with acid. So acid, this oxygen will take the proton and it will get protonated. Now this alkyl migration will take place to, and leaving group will leave. So this imine will form. Then again your water will attack and this enol will form, that is will tautomerize to this lactam. This Bachmann rearrangement is possible in acyclic system also. In that case also, your one of the group will migrate and that group will migrate, that is trans to the OH. So then this linear nitrohelium ion will form first and then water will attack, and after the loss of proton you will get this uh, we can say this enol or enol kind of intermediate that will tautomerize to give you this keto or sorry ester amide. Now let us see why we are saying that the group that is trans to the OH group or OH will migrate. When your ketone will react with this hydroxylamine, then two two type of geometrical isomers are possible, whether you will get a transalkene or a cisalkene. Like we are getting cis and transalkene, in this case your OH and ethyl group or this alkyl group are trans to each other, or OH is trans to the methyl. And when you are treating it with alumina, then this migration will take place, or any Lewis acid you can do this transformation. So this OH2 positive will form, and this bond are anti-periplanar to each other. So this migration is more feasible than the migration of the other group. So whenever in Bachmann rearrangement you have to get the product, so the group that is trans to the OH will migrate to the nitrogen, and then you will get the product corresponding to that. So, and the ratio of the geometrical isomers and the ratio of the product is nearly same. So for example, in this case, when this ketone is reacting with this hydroxylamine, then you are getting the geometrical isomers ratio in 75 is to 25%. And in product also, your ratio is nearly same, 73 is to 27. Similarly, in the second case, ratio is 86 is to 14, and in product, amides also formed in the ratio of 88 is to 12. So nearly in the ratio in which geometrical isomers are formed, in that ratio only your product will form. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Then next is benzylic acid rearrangement. So in 1838, von Liebig found this rearrangement where when he treated this benzyl, that is 1,2-diphenyl ethane 1,2-dione with hydroxide, then he got this rearranged acid that he called it as benzylic acid. Now how this transformation is taking place from 1 to ketone, how they are getting this alpha hydroxy acid. So your hydroxide will attack one of the carbonyl carbon, and this alkoxide will form first. Then the carbonyl group, this alkoxide will push the electron density, and your one group will migrate to the other carbonyl carbon, and you will get this acid. Because hydroxide was still there, so in the this carboxylate ion it will exist. So this is the benzylic acid rearrangement.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, once again, can you please explain this last reaction?
Okay. See, you have this diketone and it is symmetrical. So your hydroxide will attack one of the carbonyl carbon and alkoxide will form. So this will form first. Then your negative, or we can say the lone pair on the oxygen will push the electron density, and here carbon can form only four bonds. So one of the group should migrate, or as leaving group is not there, so migration is taking place. So one this phenyl group will migrate to the other carbonyl carbon, and you will get the O negative that will get protonated, so you will get this product.
Okay, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Then this diene phenol rearrangement we have already discussed. Then next is Baker Venkat Raman rearrangement. So this is the base induced transfer of ester acyl group in an O-acylated phenol ester. That will leads to the 1,3-diketone as the product. So you have this ester and acyl group is there, and you are treating it with base. So base will take the acidic proton, and we know that this proton that is at alpha position to the carbonyl is acidic. So firstly base will take the proton and alkoxide will form, or sorry, enolate will form. After the formation of this enolate, when oxygen will push the electron density, or it will revert back, then it will attack the ester carbonyl carbon, and your cyclic alkoxide will form. After the formation of the cyclic alkoxide, again oxygen will push the electron density and open up this cyclic intermediate, and you will get this phenoxide ion. Then it will take the proton, and you will get this 1,3-diketone and a hydroxyl group. This is Baker Venkatraman rearrangement, where at ortho position ester and keto group was there, and then after the reaction, after treating it with base, you will get a 1,3-diketone with hydroxyl group at the ortho position. Is this clear?
Ma'am, the one that you have circled with the red, ma'am, what is happening there?
See, here you have this oxygen, and this alkoxide was there, and some other groups was there. I'm not writing fully. So
Yes, ma'am.
alkoxide will push the electron density, and this ring will open to form the phenoxide ion that is stable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Then next is Fry's rearrangement. So Fry's rearrangement is the reaction in which aryl group or aryl ester is transformed into hydroxyaryl ketone with the in the presence of some Lewis acid. So you have this aryl ester attached to the aryl group, aryl ring. And in the presence of Lewis acid, what will happen? Your oxygen will coordinate with this Lewis acid, and aluminium will get the negative charge, oxygen will get the positive charge. Then this CO bond um, that was there, or we can say this oxygen will attack the aluminium, and then this acylium ion will generate. So this acylium ion will generate, and you will get this oxygen attached to aluminium, and then this phenoxide will undergo Friedel-Crafts acylation with this acylium ion that is formed during the reaction to get the ortho and para substituted product. Okay, first is migration of oxygen or breaking of this ester bond, and then Friedel-Crafts acylation. Clear?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, in second structure, after attachment of the Lewis acid to oxygen, aluminium has gained the negative charge. Then why the lone pair of oxygen is shifting to aluminium? It is already having negative.
When the carbonyl oxygen attached to the aluminium, then the electrophilicity of this bond, or this bond is getting weakened. So that bond is breaking, and then your aluminium chloride will leave. That oxygen will take.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Next is Schmidt reaction or rearrangement. So this is the reaction of hydrogen azide with electrophiles. For example, this carboxylic acid to form the amines after the loss of nitrogen and carbon dioxide. So you have this acid and you are treating it with hydrogen azide in the presence of some acid. So what will happen? Firstly, in the presence of acid, your carboxylic acid will get protonated and water will generate. So after the loss of this water, your acylium ion will form or carbocation will generate. Then this hydrogen azide is reacting with this carbocation to form this intermediate. Then migration will take place because nitrogen is a good living group and it will leave. So positive charge will come at nitrogen. So this group will migrate here, or we can say your alkyl group will migrate to the nitrogen and nitrogen will leave and this bond will shift here. So you will get this intermediate. Then carbon, being electrophilic, so water is attacking at this carbon and you will get this acid attached to the nitrogen. Then after decarboxylation, after the loss of proton and then decarboxylation, you will get this amine. So whenever isocyanate will form, then after the attack of water, it will leads to the decarboxylation and you will get amine. So in schematic rearrangement or Curtius rearrangement or Lawson rearrangement, wherever you will get this isocyanate, then after the attack of water, it leads to decarboxylation and final product, whatever you will get is amine. Similarly, in the Curtius rearrangement also, same kind of intermediate we will get. Acyl chloride, you are treating it with sodium azide. So this acyl azide will form. These are the resonating structures of this acyl azide. Then after the loss of nitrogen, you will get this nitrene. Once this nitrene is formed, so this alkyl group will migrate to nitrogen and your isocyanate will generate. Then this isocyanate can be attacked by water or can be attacked by alcohol. If water will attack, then this carbamic acid will form, and if alcohol is attacking, then this carbamate will form. And if in case of carbamic acid, your CO2 extrusion will lead to the formation of this amine. So acyl azide will leads to the formation of this isocyanate, and attack by alcohol, carbamate will generate. Attack by water and then CO2 elimination will leads to the formation of amine. And if you are treating it with some other amine, then you will get these urea derivatives. So these are the different possible product that you can get based on the nucleophile that you are using to react with this isocyanate. Similarly, if we have, so we started with carboxylic acid and we are treating it with SOCl2 to get the acyl chloride, which we are treating it with azide source to get this acyl azide. So this is the way how you can prepare this acyl azide, or by treating it with this NH2, this acyl hydrazine will form, and then by treating it with HNO2, after the this diazotization, you will get this acyl azide. So these are the methods of formation of acyl azide.
Ma'am, its overall end product means what we are eliminating is carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then Hoffman rearrangement is the uh, rearrangement of amide to amines. So amide, we are treating it with base, so it will take the proton from the amine or NH2. Then we are treating it with bromine, so your nitrogen will attack the bromine and you will get this N-bromo compound. Then again base was there, So base will take the proton, O negative will generate, and this will revert back, and your acyl nitrene will form. And we know acyl nitrene, after migration of alkyl group to the nitrogen, your isocyanate will generate. This isocyanate, we are treating it with water. So your this amino acid will form, and this, after the loss of carbon dioxide, you will get the amine. So in Hoffman rearrangement, we are starting with amide and you will get amine. In Curtius rearrangement, we are starting with acyl chloride and you are getting amine. And in Schmidt rearrangement, we are starting with acid and you are getting amine. And in all these cases, intermediate is isocyanate. Then next is Lawson rearrangement. This is the transformation of hydroxamate ester to convert it into the isocyanate that we can use to get the amine. So in this case, this hydroxamate ester, we are treating it with base. So base will take the proton from the nitrogen, and then this alkyl group will migrate to the nitrogen, and this carboxylate ion will uh, eliminate. Or we can say, after the loss of CO2 and R negative, or sorry, acid will generate here. Byproduct is acid, and again isocyanate will form. This will, on attacking by water, you will get, after the loss of CO2, amine is the product. So hydroxamate ester we are converting into isocyanate, and by attack of water and loss of CO2, we are getting amine. So Schmidt, Curtius, Lawson, these all reactions will lead to the formation of amines. Then let us discuss about some name reactions. The first reaction is Wittig reaction. So Wittig reaction is the reaction of ketones with ylide, for this phosphoranes or phosphorus ylides, to form this alkene. So whenever you want to convert a carbonyl compound to a alkene, then the name reaction you should remember is the Wittig reaction, where you are treating it with phosphorus ylide. What is ylide? A species where one of the carbon or one of the atom is positively charged and other atom is the negatively charged. We will call it as ylide. So how this ylide will form, that we will see first. So we have alkyl bromide and we are treating it with PPH3. So phosphorus has lone pair, it will attack the carbon where leaving group is attached, and this will go. Then phosphorus is having a positive charge and bromide is the negative charge. So this phosphonium salt will form first. Then we are treating it with base, so it will take the acidic proton that is adjacent to the phosphorus, and this negative positive charge, or we can say this double bond, carbon double bond phosphorus will form, which we will call as ylide or phosphoranes. After the formation of this phosphorane, this will react with this carbonyl carbon. So negative charge on the carbon will attack the carbonyl carbon, that is electrophilic in nature, and O negative is attacking the phosphorus because oxygen phosphorus bond is very much stable. Then after the formation of this four-membered oxaphosphetane intermediate, then your this phosphine oxide will leave and alkene will generate. So the reaction or conversion of ketone to the alkene is known as Wittig reaction by treating it with phosphorus ylide. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, this ylide is given for this reaction only, or in general, any species having positive and negative altogether is called ylide?
Yeah, all like any species having positive and negative charge adjacent to each other, that is ylide. This is
Okay.
phosphorus ylide. Sulfur ylides are also there. That will also do some reaction.
Ma'am, that diazomethane we write
Yeah.
CH2 negative, and then that is also ylide.
No, that is not ylide. This in that case, this this is negative and we will write as this is the positive, and this positive charge is resonance stabilized.
Yes, ma'am.
This, in case of halide, this positive negative will stay at that position only.
Okay, ma'am.
Huh. But so, like,
They are localized.
not in every case, but your stabilized halides are also there.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah. So if we will discuss, if we will consider the stereochemistry in the Wittig reaction, then alkenes can be E selective or Z selective. So when, in which case we will get E selectivity, that is with the stabilized halide, and unstabilized halide will lead to the formation of Z alkene. Now, what do we meant by stabilized? If your negative charge, where the carbon having the negative charge is attached to with some electron withdrawing group that can stabilize the negative charge on this carbon, we will call it as stabilized halide. And when the carbon that is attached that is having the negative charge is not attached with any electron withdrawing group, or it is attached with alkyl group, we will call it as unstabilized halide. So your stabilized halide will give stable alkene, that is trans alkene, and unstabilized halide will give unstable alkene, that is cis alkene. Then next reaction is Julia olefination. So this is the addition of phenyl sulfonyl carbanion to the aldehyde or ketone, and intermediate you will get is alcohol, that will, after reductive elimination with sodium amalgam, leads to the formation of alkene. So let us discuss. So this is your phenyl sulfonyl compound, and you are treating it with butyl lithium. So this is the acidic proton, so base will take the proton. So after the formation of this carbanion or this lithiated species, it will react with the aldehyde. So firstly, your alkoxide will form, and then on treating it with acetic anhydride, it will get acylated. So first, carbanion will generate. This is reacting with aldehyde, and then you are treating it with acetic anhydride. So this acetate it will attack, and OAC negative will leave. So you will get this acetate. Then in the second step, you are treating it with sodium amalgam. So elimination will take place, and you will get this alkene. Now, how this elimination is happening? So your sodium is a one electron donor. So this sodium will give electron to the oxygen. Then this bond will break, and sulfur radical will generate. And after the formation of this sulfur radical, so this sulfur radical will generate, then this bond will break, and you will get a radical at the carbon. Then the leaving group is present adjacent to this radical. So this leaving group will leave, and you will get the alkene. Or one, sorry, one more electron. Sodium will give one more electron to this carbon. Negative charge will generate, and then this acetate group will leave, to leading to the formation of this alkene. And in Julia olefination, mostly we will get the trans alkene. So for,
Ma'am, once again, please.
yeah. So firstly, phenyl sulfonyl, you are treating it with base. So proton abstraction will take place, that will attack the aldehyde to form the corresponding alkoxide. which they are quenching with acetic anhydride. So this acetate will generate. Then you are treating it with sodium amalgam. So sodium will give one electron to the oxygen attached to the sulfur. So this sulfur oxygen pi bond will cleave and sulfur radical will generate. After the formation of sulfur radical, this carbon sulfur bond will break homolytically and your radical will generate at this carbon. Then again one more electron sodium will give to form the negative charge at that center, and then after the loss of the leaving group you will get the alkene. Clear?
Ma'am, the last reaction is not clear.
This one,
The above one is clear. Yes, ma'am. From here.
see, after the formation of this carbanion, so yeah, after the formation of this radical at this position, sodium will give one more electron. So if it will give one more electron, then your negative charge will generate at that position, and then leaving group is adjacent. So this negative will form the bond and acetate will leave to form the double bond.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Then next is Peterson reaction. So this alpha hydroxy silanes in the presence of acid or in the presence of base, they will leads to the formation of the alkene. So in the presence of acid, anti-elimination will take place, and in the presence of base, syn elimination will take place. So acid will protonate this, and then water will attack the silyl, and anti-elimination leads to the formation of this E alkene. In this case, E will form. And again, when you have this syn stereochemistry, in that case also anti-elimination will take place, and here you are getting the cis alkene based on the groups that are attached to the this carbon having oxygen or silicon. Difference is clear? In case of acid, anti-elimination will take place. So whatever substrate you have to write it in such a way that silyl and this OH2 positive or water leaving group must be anti to each other. And in case of base, now here OH and this silicon. So we will shift it to make it syn to each other. Base will take the proton from the oxygen, hydroxyl group, and this negative will attack the silicon, and you will get this four membered ring. And after the loss of this oxygen silicon bond, you will get this alkene. So in case of base, Peterson olefilation will elimination will take place in the syn periplanar manner, and in case of acid, anti-elimination will take place. Then the next reaction is Grignard reaction. This we have already discussed, that whenever you have an alkyl chloride and alkyl halide, you are treating it with magnesium, so your Grignard reagent will generate, where your magnesium is having a positive charge and alkyl group is having a negative charge. Then this alkyl group will react with any carbonyl compound to form alcohol. Next is Shapiro reaction, that is the base induced reaction of tosyl hydrazones to form alkenes. So you have this tosyl hydrazone and you are treating it with two equivalents of methyl lithium. So first equivalent will take the proton from the nitrogen to form the negative charge at this position. And the second equivalent of methyl lithium is taking the proton from this allylic carbon to form the negative charge at this position. Now, once the negative charge is formed here, then it will push the electron density to remove this tosyl group. Then after the formation of this N double bond N negative, so here this nitrogen negative charge, nitrogen will leave and you will get this sp2 carbon having the negative charge, which will get protonated to form this alkene. So this is the Shapiro reaction, where we are converting tosyl hydrogens to alkene. Next is Riemer-Tiemann reaction. This is the conversion of phenol to orthoformylation reaction by treating it with this chloroform and potassium hydroxide. So the mechanism is like this. First, this base will take the acidic proton and your carbon ion will generate, and after the loss of chloride ion, your carbene will generate. So the intermediate in the Riemer-Tiemann reaction is carbene. Now, phenoxide ion is nucleophilic in nature, so this will attack at the ortho position to this carbene to form the negative charge at that carbon having the this negative this your carbene is electrophilic in nature, and when this pi bond is giving electrons to this carbon, so it will get negatively charged. So here we have this carbonyl and this Cl negative charge, and here it will take the proton from the adjacent position to form the aromatic ring again, and after the formation of this Cl and H, then water is there, oh sorry, hydroxide ion is there. It will again attack at this carbon because leaving group was there, so it will form carbon oxygen HClH. This negative will take the proton, this will come here and chloride will leave, so you will get this orthoformylated product. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am, clear.
Then the next reaction is Prevost hydroxylation. So we know that alkene, on treating it with MCPBA, epoxide will form, and if we are treating it with water, then you will get the transdiol. And alkene on treatment with osmium tetroxide, and by treating it with water, you will get the syndiol or cisdiol. Similarly, if we will use Prevost hydroxylation reaction, then we are treating alkene with iodine in the presence of some silver salt, and then treating it with base. So you will get this transdiol. So the mechanism is like this. Firstly, alkene will react with iodine to form the iodonium ion, and then your this silver salt was there. So here this carboxylate ion was there. So this will react to open the this iodonium ion, and this anti-elimination. Sorry, it will attack from the backside to open the iodonium ion. So this iodine and the upcoming group is trans to each other. Then your silver positive was there, it will coordinate with the iodine to increase the nucleophilicity of this iodine, to increase the leaving group tendency of this iodine, and your neighboring group, that is carboxylate ion, carboxylate oxygen, will participate to remove this iodide, and this cyclic intermediate will form first. Again, whatever carboxylate was there, it will open this cyclic intermediate from the opposite side to give form this trans diester product, and then KOH we are using to hydrolyze this ester to get the trans alcohol or trans diol. So in Prevost condition, we are using iodine and silver salt. So cyclic intermediate will form, and carboxylate will attack from the backside to open that cyclic intermediate to get the transdiol. In case of Woodward hydroxylation, same reaction we are doing in the presence of moisture, in the presence of water. So in that case, you are getting the cis diol. Mechanism is same. Firstly, idonium ion will form. Your acetate will open from the backside, and then through the neighboring group participation, it will form this cyclic intermediate. Now, this is the one of the resonance stabilized form is this. As water is there, so water can attack this carbocation, and this intermediate will form where your OH is attached to the carbon where positive charge was there. Then oxygen will take the proton and it will get protonated, and then it will open in the syn fashion to form this carboxylic acid and alpha hydroxyl group. And water can hydrolyze this acid or this ester to form the syn diol. Is this clear? So in the presence of water, syn diol will form, and in the absence of water, trans diol will form. So let's start questions. Take your time, think about it, and give me answers. The first question is the major product obtained in the given reaction. You have an alcohol and you are treating it with acid. So what is the first step?
Ma'am, protonation of the oxygen.
Okay.
So water molecule will leave.
Okay, so this carbocation will generate. I'm writing directly the carbocation. So this carbocation will generate, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, second step is
ring expansion.
ring expansion. This is a four-membered ring that is strained, so it will it will undergo ring expansion to form another carbocation. Then elimination to form the alkene. So this is your product. Option B. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Second question is determine the P and Q in the given transformation. So you have an alkene and you are converting it to diol. Is this cis or trans? Diol is cis or trans?
Ma'am, cis.
Ma'am,
Cis.
cis.
So in which condition we will get cis diol? In the presence of water or absence of water?
Presence of water.
Presence of water. So this and this option is discarded, right? So one of the C and D option is correct. Now you are treating it with water. So what it will do? It will protonate one of the oxygen. Which reaction it is? Second one?
Ma'am, Woodward.
First one is Woodward. Second one. Which name reaction? This cis diol is the in which case we discussed pinacol pinoculon rearrangement,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So after the formation of this carbocation, now which group will migrate? So here you got this OH or methyl?
Methyl.
Methyl. Because after migration, you have positive charge adjacent to oxygen that can stabilize it by its lone pairs. So after the migration of methyl, you will get here dimethyl and here carbonyl. So the correct option is option 4.
Ma'am, can you please explain this? Yes, ma'am. From this step.
This one.
Yes, ma'am. From this, how we are able to achieve the final product?
Okay. See, after the after the migration after the migration of methyl group, positive charge will come at this carbon, and oxygen lone pair will neutralize the positive charge by resonance, and you will get the ketone after the loss of proton.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Clear, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then next, the product X and Y in the given reactions are Z alkene or E alkene. Now, in the presence of base, which elimination will take place? Syn elimination or anti elimination? Syn elimination. So we can
Yes,
write that, let us suppose this is R1 and this is R2. So we have, this is SiMe3, and I'm inverting it, this OH here, and this group will come at this side. So this is R2 and this is R1. So here, when this elimination will take place, so you will get a cis alkene. Sorry, let us write the Newman projection, then it will be very much clear. So I'm writing it like this. Here it is the OH, this is R1, this is, and this is SiMe3. So if I'm writing the Newman projection and I'm seeing from this side, so this is R1, this is SiMe3, and here is our H, that is above. So this is OH, and this is H, and here is R2. Now, for syn elimination to take place, SiMe3 and OH should be in the same plane. So, I will rotate this bond in such a way that your SiMe3 will come at the position of this hydrogen. So, SiMe3 will rotate, H will come here, and this is your R1. This is H, this is R2, and this is OH. So, base will take the proton, your O negative will generate, that is attacking at this position, and double bond will form. So now your R1 is and your R2, that is anti-periplanar to each other. So trans alkene will generate. So here is R1 and here is R2. So this is E alkene. And in the second case, what you will get? For this one, this is equivalent to, here is OH, here is SiMe3, this is R1, this is R2. So in the Newman projection, we can write it as, this is R1, SiMe3, H, here is OH, this is H, and this is R2. So in this case, after elimination, both are in same plane, same side. So this is Z alkene. So your X is E alkene and your Y is Z alkene. Option C. Clear? You just have to draw the Newman projection and then eliminate. So if both R groups are opposite to each other, then E alkene, and if they are in the same, then it is the Z alkene.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, we are getting trans alkene when the hydroxy group and SiMe3 are in opposite to each other, right?
Can you repeat?
Ma'am, I mean when the hydroxy group and SiMe3 are in another plane, different planes, then we are getting trans alkene, no?
You can't generalize that. You have to draw this projection like in 3D. When your SiMe3 and OH are sent to each other, then only elimination will take place. So for that you have to draw this Newman projection so that you can find out in which orientation, whether the R groups are in the same direction or in the opposite direction. Then you can decide whether it is trans or cis.
Ma'am, in first case, SiMe3 and OH are syn to each other, no?
No, they are not syn. Like for syn to each other, that means at this position it should be O and negative, and this is SiMe3. This is syn.
Yes,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
but both are having the dash.
SiMe3 is fixed, but OH stereochemistry you have to check. And for syn elimination, this bond you have to rotate. If you will rotate it, this OH will go above. In this case, if you will,
Ma'am, but
it
OH
will
is also dashed in first case.
Yes, ma'am.
see when we discussed about this. See, this is the case where your OH is trans to the SiMe3, right? And when base will take the proton, we rotate this bond. This bond we rotated so that your O negative and SiMe3 come in the same plane. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
In question, here this OH is like it is looking like they have same stereochemistry, but after the bond rotation they are in opposite plane. So that's why we are getting trans in that case. Whenever you are doing elimination, syn elimination, then your SiMe3 and this O negative, that should be in the same side of the bond. Now your O negative is opposite to the SiMe3, and in presence of base, anti-elimination is not possible. Then it should lead to the formation of a epoxide if good living group was there. But as good living group was not there and oxygen is silicophilic, so it has to rotate. This bond rotation is single bond rotation is possible, right? This SiMe3 is here and O negative is here. It can't attack from the back side to the silicon. So this bond, it will rotate this bond, that this negative one will come in the front so that this will attack. And your group, whatever R group was there in the same direction, whatever you are telling that it should give cis, now it will go opposite. Are you getting my
Okay,
point?
ma'am.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, the answer that we have received from the above reaction and how they are arranged, so that is not the general statement, no?
You just have to
Gen-
rotate the bond in such a way that syn elimination can happen. Don't generalize the things.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Next is you have amine and you are treating it with NaNO2 and HCl. So, firstly, what will happen?
Ma'am, oxime formation.
Oxime or diazonium salt?
Diazonium salt.
Diazonium salt. So, firstly,
Okay,
this
sorry.
diazonium salt
Diazonium
will
salt, sorry,
form.
ma'am.
Then, this will eliminate. Oxygen will push the electron density and this will migrate. So, you will get a 6-membered ring having this CH3 and this is the keto. Right? Okay. Others, and this is clear.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am,
ma'am.
clear.
Yes.
Next is the rate of following reactions increases in the order. So Baeyer Villiger rearrangement is happening, and you are this phenyl group are migrating because oxygen it is as attached to the phenyl ring. Then in this case, which group will migrate faster, and rate of migration you have to tell. Now intermediate is carbocationic. So the group that is migrating should be electron rich or electron deficient.
Ma'am, electron rich.
Electron rich. So which one is
Ma'am, is it option C?
option C? Correct. This is electron donating. This is electron withdrawing. And here no group was attached. So electron third will migrate faster, then second, and then first. So the correct option is option C.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
will it not be option 1?
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
sorry. Option 1. This is the correct option.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Next is you have amine and you are treating it with NaNO2 HCl. So firstly, what will form?
Diazonium salt.
Diazonium salt. Now we have to write the chair conformation. So your OH is above, N2 positive is below, and your third butyl group is above. Third butyl group is the bulky group among all the three that we have to keep equatorial. That is the stable conformation for this case. Then your OH is axial and N2 positive is axial. Now, this OH and this nitrogen is anti-periplanar to each other. So oxygen
Yes.
will attack at this sigma star and nitrogen will leave. So what will form? Epoxide will form. So the correct option is option third.
Option 3.
Yes, only 3 is formed. Clear? Okay. Next is complete the given sequence of reaction by identifying the correct product X and Y. So firstly, what will form? Ketone is there, hydroxylamine is there. What it will form?
Oxime.
Oxime.
Oxide.
So two regioisomers is possible where your NOH or OH is trans to this methyl or OH is trans to the CH2. Then corresponding to these two, your lactam will form. So if here migration will take place, so this will form, and if this side it will form. So this will form, right? Which one is major? This is major because
Yes, ma'am.
your transalkene is major. Two bulky groups should be away from each other. So this is your major and this is your minor product. So X and Y, 75 is to 25. Which one is X? First, this is X, and this third is Y. So
Ma'am, here protonation will take place, no? After the oxime formation.
what will happen?
Protonation of oxygen.
Yeah. Protonation will
Ma'am,
take place, then migration will take place. I just directly wrote the product. Mechanism I didn't show.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah. If you want to know, so this first protonation will take place, then migration will happen, and this leaving group will leave. So amine will form, and then water will attack. So after this N double bond, this will form, then water will attack at this position to neutralize the positive charge, and you will get this amide after deprotonation.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
Okay. Then next is you have this lactone, and you are treating it with ylide, phosphorus ylide. So what will happen? This is PPH3 positive, CH2 negative. So this negative is attacking at one of the carbonyl carbon, and here it is negative, here it is CH2 PPH3 positive. So this oxygen will attack to form the oxophosphatine. And then phosphine oxide will eliminate to give you the alkene. So this is the product.
This is the Wittig reaction.
Wittig reaction. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next is, which of the following will not give Hoffman bromoamide reaction? So that is the reaction of your amide, primary amide, to form primary amine. So this is, and you are treating it with base in the presence of bromine. So firstly isocyanate will form, and that will lead to the formation of amine. Reaction, you remember? So firstly base will take the proton, and this NH negative will form, and then this is reacting with this bromine to form N-bromo compound. Then again base will take the proton, and this will shift so again this will come here and this will go. So acyl nitrinium nitrine acylium nitrine will form first, and then alkyl group will migrate, and you will get the isocyanate. So R N double bond C double bond O. Then water will attack at the carbonyl carbon, and you will get this RNH C double bond O O H. Then nitrogen will take the proton, O negative will form, or the CO2 will leave to form amine. So this is the reaction. Now, which one is primary amide? This one. First one is primary amide or secondary amide?
Ma'am,
Secondary.
secondary.
Secondary. So this will not undergo Hoffman bromamide reaction. Second is the
Yes.
intermediate of this reaction. So this can undergo. Third is primary. Fourth is primary. So the correct option is option A. Clear?
Clear, ma'am.
Okay. Then next question is the product P in this given reaction. Which reaction it is?
Reimer-Tiemann reaction.
Dimer-Tiemann reaction.
So what is the product? Orthoformylation. So at this
Yes, ma'am.
position, CHO will come. What is the mechanism? First, base will take the proton,
Carbene formation.
carbene will form. I'm directly writing, after the loss of this chlorine, this carbene will generate. Then your phenoxide will attack the carbene and it will form this negative charge. Then it will take the proton, rearomatization. This is O negative. And here we have the CHCl, Cl. Then water will attack, chlorine will leave, and you will get CCl, H, and OH. Then your O negative will take the proton, this formyl will form, and chloride will leave. So you will get orthoformylated product. Because base they are using in excess, so this will exist in the form of alkoxide ion. So which one is correct option? Option B.
Yes.
Clear?
No, option D.
Option?
D.
No, this base they are using, na, so it is alkoxide, not phenol.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah.
Ma'am, but CHO should be ortho to ON, you know.
Option B.
Option B.
Yes, option B.
This one. Correct. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all about today. Thank you.
Ma'am, can you once again explain the first question?
Okay.
I could not see it properly.
So in this case, firstly, protonation will take place. So after the protonation, your carbocation will generate. And then four-membered ring is there, that is strained. So it will open up to form another carbocation. Then after the loss of proton or elimination, you will get this olefin.
Yes, ma'am.
Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, please show the question number 8.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Ma'am, I say question number 8, please show.
8. Okay. This is Wittig olefination. So your halide will attack one of the carbonyl carbon and then oxophosphatane will generate, and then after the loss of this phosphine oxide, you will get the alkene. If you are using one equivalent, then one of the carbonyl will be converted to olefin. If you are using more than one equivalent, then both the carbonyl will convert to olefins. But as no product is given for excess one, so we are considering only one addition is taking place, one equivalent they are using.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Any other doubt?
Ma'am, can you explain about the reagent reaction, that is Baker-Venkatraman, beyond
Okay.
that?
So this Baker-Venkatraman rearrangement is the reaction of when your ketone and or your ester group are present to the ortho position with respect to each other. So base will take the acidic proton adjacent to the ketone, and then firstly your enolate will generate. So base will take the proton and this bond will shift here and enolate will generate. Then this enolate will revert back to attack at the ester electrophilic position, and this cyclic alkoxide ion will form. Then oxygen will push the electron density to open the cyclic intermediate to form O negative phenoxide ion. This ring opening is taking place because the phenoxide ion that is generating is stable by resonance. And then it will take the proton to form the 1,3 diketo compound having this hydroxyl group ortho to the this 1,3 diketone.
Okay, ma'am, got it. What is about the Smith rearrangement?
Sorry,
Smith rearrangement.
skimmed. Okay. So in this case, you have a carboxylic acid and you are treating it with hydrogen azide in the presence of some acid source. So firstly, acid will protonate by the proton, and then after the loss of water, your acylium ion will generate. And then hydrogen azide is nucleophilic in nature, so that will attack at this that will attack at this acylium ion to neutralize the positive charge on oxygen. And then this nitrogen is a good leaving group, so this alkyl migration will take place to the nitrogen, isocyanate will form and the nitrogen will leave. After the formation of this isocyanate, after this loss of proton, then water will attack and CO2 will leave to form the amine.
Okay. Where can I find the PDF?
PDF in that portal you will get.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, a request. Ma'am, by today only will you please upload this recorded?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.